Today on Extreme 4x4, part 2 of our Mudalicious Bogger, with great transmission tech to convert your two-wheel drive to spin all fours.
We're back on Extreme 4x4 and we're right in the middle of our big block powered mud bog race truck. Now with the engine underneath the hood, we can go ahead and concentrate on the transmission. Now we picked up this nice cheap used Turbo 350 automatic. Now this will be a great lightweight 3-speed for behind our engine as long as we build it to handle the power that we're putting out. Now one of the problems when you're building up a transmission like this is knowing exactly what to replace. Now the guys at Monster Transmission have it all figured out for us. They have a kit that they call a Monster in a Box. Not only does it include all the standard items you'd expect to get in a rebuild kit, they also upgrade the parts that are prone to failure, like the front and rear sprag, as well as a new hardened race assembly. New red Alto race clutch discs and some heavy-duty Colleen steels. They use a Kevlar reinforced band as well as an adjustable modulator. We'll top it off with a 4,000 RPM stall torque converter, an aluminum pan to aid in cooling, and then finally, a complete shift kit. Now honestly guys, over the past 20 years, I've probably rebuilt about 300 transmissions. And I know how unnerving it can be to get everything apart onto the bench and hope you remember where it goes. Just take your time, it'll be okay. Now we've rebuilt a lot of transmissions here at Extreme and we've taken you through what happens inside this case before. Now honestly, rebuilding a Turbo 350 is very easy. Just get a manual and a rebuild kit and you'll be okay. So instead of showing you how to rebuild this transmission specifically, we're going to go ahead and answer some of the most popular questions that we get asked about automatics. And the first one is, can you turn a two-wheel drive transmission into a four-wheel drive? Well, the answer is pretty simple and it's yes. Almost all transmissions from the original equipment manufacturers, whether it be standard or automatic, were almost the exact same from the mounting flange on the motor back to where the rear extension housing mounts, both inside and out. The only difference is on the two-wheel drive version, there's a long extension housing and a longer output shaft. So to convert a transmission like this one, you just need to get the shorter four-wheel drive output shaft along with the matching extension housing that will mate your transfer case up behind whatever transmission that you have. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, why would you do this? Why would you buy a two-wheel drive transmission and convert it? Well, a couple reasons. First off, cost. A used two-wheel drive transmission like this Turbo 350, that's $125. The four-wheel drive version would almost be double that because they get burned up more often and therefore they're worth more money. Another reason, if you're using an aftermarket adapter like this one from Advanced Adapters to adapt the GM transmission to Toyota, you're going to have to go in and replace the output shaft anyway. So you can save a little bit of money up front and just pick up a two-wheel drive transmission that you got to tear down no matter what. One tip though, before you swap in that new shaft, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that the splines, bearing surfaces, as well as the fluid passage ports are the same on both shafts. That way you won't have a problem after you do the work. Another confusing area for most people is a shift kit. What does it do and how does it work? Well, they're available for almost all transmissions, and it works inside the valve body itself. Now, although all these fluid passages in here look pretty confusing, just think of them as pipes in your plumbing at home. Now, before the fluid can go from the lower valve body into the transmission itself, it has to go through a spacer plate. Now, inside the spacer plate, manufacturers put factory restrictions to slow the fluid down. Now, what this will do is basically give you a nice, soft, comfortable shift, but we don't want that. We want a hard shift. So the shift kit, you're going to drill out those restrictions, and it also will include usually springs to install inside the valve body for the same reason. It's actually not that difficult if you just follow the instructions. The biggest benefit is going to be a firm shift. The clutches aren't going to slip, and it's going to get your power to the wheels. Today on Extreme 4x4, we've been working on our mud bog race truck. And right now we're converting this two-wheel drive automatic over to four-wheel drive, and at the same time we're answering a lot of questions we get asked about rebuilding automatics in general. Things like, well, what should I expect to replace inside my transmission once I have it torn down? Now, if the transmission was working fine in the truck and you're just in there to freshen it up, you can probably get away with a gasket and seal kit from your local parts store. But if you get in there and find clutch discs that look like this, then you probably had a problem before it came out, and you're in for a major overhaul that's going to include at least replacing the clutches as well as most of the steels. But the way I look at it is this: rebuilding an automatic is an investment in time. The best way to do it is to get a monster in a box. Replace it all and just rebuild your transmission one time. Now, one other tip: when you go to install the piston back into the drum, go ahead and use a very thin feeler gauge to hold down the lip of the seal. The seals are like a little umbrella, and if you push the piston down, the edge can catch and just fold right over. Now, that'll let fluid leak past, and it won't apply the clutch, and then it will burn it out, and you'll have transmission failure. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish rebuilding this 350, and then the next time we have the mud truck back in the shop, we'll go ahead and take care of all the plumbing, get our brakes done, get up in the air just a little bit further, and then we'll be ready to hit the mud hole good and hard.